Hey everyone, it's George from Blockchain DXB and today is the 29th of August 2022 and to be honest, the market is not looking good at all. The global crypto market is well below the $1 trillion mark and Bitcoin is not doing good at all. As a matter of fact, the market share of Bitcoin as of today 29th of August is down to $376 billion. Remember guys, at its all-time high, when the price of Bitcoin was $69,000, only the market share of Bitcoin alone was $1.2 trillion. Now currently there are over 20,000 different types of cryptocurrencies. If you combine the market cap of all the different types of cryptocurrencies, it is below the $1 trillion mark. As a matter of fact, it is $947 billion. So the cryptocurrency market is definitely not looking good. What we're going to be talking about in today's episode is the chair of Federal Reserve Board, that is Jerome Powell. He did have an interview in Jackson Hole, and this was roughly around 8 minutes or so. Because of that, the entire stock market went down, Bitcoin went down, and the cryptocurrency went down as well. So in today's episode, we are very briefly going to discuss where does Bitcoin fit into all of this. Bitcoin was designed as a hedge against inflation. Is that thing working? Personally, I don't think so. So we're going to try to explore where does Bitcoin fit into all of this. And what I'm really disappointed is some of the leading publications such as Bitcoin Magazine, CoinDesk, they're doing the blame game. Now remember guys, it's so easier to do the blame game, but in order to identify where does Bitcoin fit into inflation, you need to be talking more about Bitcoin. You need to be discussing the features of Bitcoin as opposed to be doing just the blame game. So we'll be discussing that in today's episode. Another interesting thing that we like to discuss is where does climate change fit into inflation? Now are the politicians just utilizing their agenda to promote climate change and trying to merge that with inflation? And we have some really interesting comments by the president of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, so far as inflation and climate change is concerned. And in today's episode, we will go back to Satoshi Nakamoto's cryptic message on the Genesis block. Now remember, when Satoshi Nakamoto made the very first transaction, there was an encoded message on the Genesis block. And the message actually said, the times 3rd of Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. Is that thing relevant, or have we learned what Satoshi Nakamoto was trying to say? In today's episode, we're also going to be discussing the Bitcoin difficulty algorithm. Every 2016th block, the Bitcoin mining difficulty gets adjusted. In the next few days, the Bitcoin mining difficulty is going to be adjusted again, and most likely, we will be reaching a new all-time high. We will discuss in today's episode if that is a good thing or if it is actually a bad thing. Finally, we're also going to be talking about Binance. Look, Binance is having, if not one of the best years in 2022. And it has another partnership, and this is something to do with South Korea. So definitely brilliant news. Regarding UAE, I have two news as well. The first news is about Abu Dhabi. Now Abu Dhabi, they plan to have a virtual asset strategy and they're planning to form some kind of association. So we'll be exploring that in detail. And the second news is about DMCC, that is Dubai Multi-Commodities Center. And they are welcoming Gate.io, one of the OGs in the cryptocurrency exchange, dating back to 2013. So let's kickstart today's episode. Welcome everyone, it's 8 you're in Dubai and you're listening to Crypto and Coffee at 8, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse, and how the series of episodes in the Crypto and Coffee at 8 works is, we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to the price of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other two news and information is related to Dubai, UAE, and Middle East, in the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. This is followed by Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions about Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. And remember guys, every Fridays, we have Metaverse Everything podcast, where we solely focus on Metaverse. So please check out those episodes as well. The format for Metaverse Everything podcast is completely different. And what I do is I publish a daily and weekly report via my LinkedIn profile. My LinkedIn profile is in the show notes below. Or you can also go to the Medium website and type in blockchain DXB. So let's kickstart today's episode. Today is the 29th of August 2022 and the market is not looking good at all. I'm looking at the price via CoinMarketCap and via CoinGecko. The global crypto market is down to $947 billion. Guys, at its all-time high, only the market share of Bitcoin was $1.2 trillion. Today, all the cryptocurrency combined is less than $1 trillion once again, and since the last 24 hours, it is down by 2.20%. The global crypto market volume over the last 24 hours is $50.55 billion, and since the last 24 hours, it is down by 26.35%. Now, one of the reasons why it is ridiculously low is because it is the weekend. Usually on Saturdays and Sundays is when the volume tends to go down. But if you look at the volume of DeFi, this just might be the lowest 24-hour volume in DeFi that I have seen. The DeFi volume is down to $3.71 billion. In early months of 2020 and 2021, the 24-hour volume of DeFi used to hold around $16 to $17 billion on an average every day. This year in particular has been absolutely horrendous for DeFi. $3.17 billion is a ridiculously low volume. So this begs this question: is DeFi dead? DeFi accounts for 7.34% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. The volume of stablecoins is down to $45.15 billion. Again, a ridiculously low amount. Stablecoin accounts for 89.32% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. Now, guys, let's quickly have a comparison between Bitcoin and Ethereum. The market share of Bitcoin has gone down to $376 billion. Ethereum is currently at $175 billion. Again, Ethereum's market share at its all-time high was hovering around the $500 and $550 billion. Definitely not looking good at all. The 24-hour trading volume of Bitcoin is $24 billion and the 24-hour trading volume of Ethereum is $12 billion. The dominance of Bitcoin and Ethereum both have gone down, and Bitcoin's dominance is at $39.69 billion and Ethereum's dominance is at $18.50 billion. On Tuesday or probably early hours of Wednesday is when I'll be releasing an episode and I'll be discussing if Ethereum flips Bitcoin. So we'll be dwelling it in detail and trying to explore what the Ethereum merge is. We will also be looking at the inflows and outflows. So stay tuned and listen to the episode. So most likely I'll try to release this episode early Wednesday in the morning, Gulf Standard Time. If you look at the price of Bitcoin, it has gone well below the $20,000 mark and it is currently at $19,608. Since the last 24 hours, it is down by 2.11%. Since the last 7 days, it is down by 8.65%. Ethereum is down to $1,429. It is down by 4.08%. Since the last 7 days, it is down by 11.16%. Guys, on LinkedIn, I was reading an article which is published by one of the OGs in the fintech sector who actually said that Ethereum will be crossing the $100,000 mark. Look, all of the price predictions are 100% right 50% of the time. So when you're reading through articles on LinkedIn or online magazines or even podcasts, avoid focusing purely on the price. Rather than that, try to understand the fundamentals and the technical analysis of a particular protocol or product. Now let's look at Binance Coin. Binance is if not having the best year in 2022 and the price currently is at $275. Now since the last 24 hours it is down by 0.83%, but since the last 7 days it is down by 8.92%. So the big talk which is going on not just in the cryptocurrency market but in the stock market and in the finance sector is Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell is the chair of the Federal Reserve. He did have an impressive speech at Jackson Hole in Wyoming, and he wanted to deliver an update on the central bank's fight against inflation. The video is only 8 minutes or so long. What I would really recommend you guys to do is listen to the entire video first and do not try to look at magazines that are giving their opinions on Jerome Powell. There is a very strong theme with Jerome Powell is saying he's focusing on getting the inflation numbers low. That is what he is focusing on. In that speech, he clearly mentioned that US is not in recession. Now look guys, despite what all online publication, all newspapers are saying, US is currently not in recession. What you need to do is, you need to look at the numbers by yourself. So if you want to do that, go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Department. It actually tells you the jobs demand versus supply. You can look at it yourself and then compare it to what Jerome Powell is saying, and you'd be surprised. Unfortunately, or should I say fortunately, US is not in recession. Online magazines and publications are completely wrong in saying that US is in recession, and strangely, this is a theme which is echoed by both the left-wing and the right-wing media publications. That being said, always look at information from first source. A lot of them don't even know how the inflation is calculated. Go to my LinkedIn profile. The Federal Reserve Board has clear explanation on what is inflation and how does the Federal Reserve evaluate changes in the rate of inflation. So go to the link which is in my LinkedIn profile. My LinkedIn profile is in the show notes below, and look at the article that I published on the 29th of August. You can also go to the Federal Reserve Board website. It gives you a very clear explanation of what is inflation and how does the Federal Reserve evaluate changes in the rate of inflation. Rather than looking at online publications, Twitter or YouTube price influencers, get the information from the first source. But the big question is, where does Bitcoin fit into all of this? One thing which is disappointing but not surprising is online publications that talk about cryptocurrencies. They are very prompt in saying that Bitcoin solves inflation, but if you read through the article, they do not mention absolutely anything as to how Bitcoin solves inflation. There is an article by CoinDesk. The article actually talks about that Bitcoin may not be a hedge against inflation, but it surely may act as a movement towards separation of money and the state. The headline seems brilliant, but if you actually read through the article, it does not mention anything about Bitcoin. It just does the blame game. It talks about how inflation and war is related. It talks about how the policies of inflation are related. Everything everyone knows, but you need to go ahead and explain what Bitcoin is doing so that it acts as a hedge against inflation, or it can act as a medium towards separation of money and the state. If you go to my website, that is blockchaindxb.com, there is a tab which says Bitcoin as a world reserve currency. This is still work in progress, where I try to explain what are the things Bitcoin could do in order to be the world reserve currency. Now, some of these things are still work in progress, and a lot of the Bitcoin maximalists would absolutely hate it. One thing which I talk about is increasing the supply of Bitcoin, reducing the price of Bitcoin. Guys, if Bitcoin is currently at $19,000 and $20,000, do you really think that people in Zimbabwe or Sri Lanka are in a position to afford any Bitcoin? The argument that Bitcoin maximalists and existing holders of Bitcoin would say is that you can hold a fraction of Bitcoin. The only reason they are saying that is they want to increase the demand for Bitcoin. So go through the article that I have mentioned. Again, this is not perfect. It is still work in progress. I've also mentioned few thoughts about universal basic income and how certain number of Bitcoins could be given to citizens of Earth after they reach a particular age. Again, still not perfect, but just a thought. Bitcoin Magazine has also published another article which talks about how Bitcoin is freedom from the fiat system's walled garden. If you read through the article, it does not say anything about Bitcoin, rather just does the blame game. And if you're reading through the articles, these headlines are really misleading. Inflation, guys, is definitely here to stay, but does climate change affect inflation? President Christian Lagarde has blamed climate change for Europe's torrid inflation. Bitcoin.com has published an article, and the original article is by Madame Figaro, which I believe is in Italian language or in another language. Since unfortunately, you might have to convert that into English and then read it. Now, because of the translation, some of the words may not be representative correctly. The whole arching theme that I get is how left wing in particular are trying to combine climate change with inflation. Clearly, there is no link. And even the Biden administration, which is extremely left wing leading, did have an Inflation Reduction Act. In the Inflation Reduction Act, out of the $734 billion that they plan to print, over $400 odd billion is going towards climate change. So I don't understand how does climate change impact inflation, but it looks like it is a globalist agenda, mostly by the left-wing media, to combine climate change with inflation. The biggest problem with inflation is the money printing, and this goes back to Satoshi Nakamoto's very first message, which was encoded on the Genesis block. He actually said, the times, that is the 3rd of June 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. It's been over a decade, but looks like his message has definitely fallen on deaf ears. Now over a decade long, and the monetary system is still a failure. Now look, separation of money and the state will eventually happen. It just might take a much longer time than anticipated. Bitcoin does solve a lot of the problems with existing monetary system. If you look at the definition of Bitcoin, it is a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. If you do want to find out the basics of Bitcoin, go to www.blockchaindxb.com. On the very first page, I have small videos explaining what Bitcoin is. Definition is essentially broken into two parts: peer-to-peer and electronic cash system. In electronic cash system, that's where the Bitcoin mining kicks in, and the Bitcoin mining difficulty is set for 8-month record gain. Every 2016th block, the Bitcoin mining gets adjusted. In the next 2 days, in roughly around 8 to 10 hours, the security is going to be increased. Now this is not good. Having Bitcoin mining difficulty extremely strong is not at all good for the ecosystem. It's so strong, it's like having 8 or 10 doors to entering a bedroom. To give you a very basic example of how strong the security is, in order to enter a room, ideally one would have a door and a lock, and maximum you could have 2 locks. But how the Bitcoin network security is so strong, in order to enter the room, think as though you have 8 or 10 different doors and 8 or 10 different locks. Now having so much of security is definitely not good. And Brockbridge Consulting are estimating that in the next 2 days, in 8 hours or so, the Bitcoin mining difficulty is going to be adjusted once again, and most likely on the higher side. Now I do have sessions where I explain Bitcoin mining at a very basic level, at an advanced level, and at a technical level as well. So I really urge you guys to go out and look at it from a completely different perspective. Having Bitcoin mining difficulty increasing is definitely not a good thing. As a matter of fact, there's also a couple of videos which says that why having Bitcoin mining difficulty on an increasing uptrend could also lead to a 51% attack. That is a completely different topic altogether, and I hopefully will try to release an episode focusing only on Bitcoin mining. Let's talk about some positive news for 2022. Binance is having, if not one of the best years in 2022, and they have signed a memorandum of understanding with the city of Busan to further boost blockchain industry development. So Binance plans to develop and foster Busan city's blockchain sector in several ways, and that is by utilizing Busan's blockchain regulatory free zone to promote blockchain initiatives and businesses, supporting blockchain-related research and investment in the city, providing specialized blockchain education and online resources from Binance Academy, advancing initiatives that promote societal well-being through Binance Charity, and finally helping with the organization of Blockchain Week in Busan in 2022. Now, I provided the official link, that is a direct blog from Binance, and CZ has said some really nice things about the city of Busan, and the governor has also said some really nice things about Binance. Now guys, let's look at news from UAE. The first news is about Abu Dhabi. They plan to launch blockchain virtual asset strategy. The news broke out on the 25th of August. So the Abu Dhabi Blockchain and Virtual Asset Committee, also called as ADB-VAC, held its first meeting under the chairmanship of Muhammad Ali Al-Sharafa, who is the chairman of Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development and chairman Securities and Commodities Authority, often called as SEA. And the whole meeting was to discuss the strategy for blockchain and virtual assets, which is aligned with the Emirates' economic strategy. The committee emphasized the importance of regulating blockchain and virtual asset activities to comply with anti-money laundering, combating the financing of terrorism, often called as AML or CFT, international and local rules and regulations to make an ecosystem that is safe, sound and transparent, which will help build trust and attract more companies to Abu Dhabi. The whole goal of this committee's meeting was to improve Abu Dhabi's competitiveness in the blockchain and virtual asset space, coordinate efforts of the entity's activity in the industry, liaison with regulators and promote compliance of industry participants with global standards and regulatory compliance, particularly that of AML and CFT regulations, and they also want to support exchange of information and best practices. This at a macro level does actually sound really great, but guys, remember, why was Bitcoin created? Bitcoin was created as a movement of separation of money and the state. So the whole idea of creating Bitcoin by Satoshi Nakamoto was that the government is no longer responsible in creation, management, and supply of money. Regulations are absolutely brilliant and great as long as they provide clarity and guidelines, and as long as they protect investors from centralized entities such as exchanges, crypto lenders, stablecoin issuers, crypto as a service, blockchain as a service, wallet service providers, and quite a lot of central entities. So keeping that in mind, these moves by regulators, especially Abu Dhabi, is a brilliant thing. But the big question is, who defines what the best practices are? Now, if you look at the whole tornado debacle that happened a few weeks ago, it's really critical to understand who decides the AML and CFT regulations and the implications for anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism. That being said, definitely a brilliant move by Abu Dhabi and the Abu Dhabi government. It does attract a lot of investments into Abu Dhabi as well. Now let's look at the second news, and this is from UAE, that is DMCC, that is Dubai Multi-Commodity Center, and they have welcomed Gate.io. So DMCC welcomes Gate.io, which is a world leader in crypto exchanges, which will be launching an OTC, that is over-the-counter, crypto block trading platform while engaging in a proprietary trading in crypto commodities, and they're going to be compliant with UAE regulations and including KYC, AML, CFT regulatory standards. Let me give you a bit of information of what Gate.io is. Gate.io was founded way back in 2013, and that point of time the name was Beater.com, that is B for Bravo, T for Tango, E for Elephant, R for Roger.com, and they rebranded it to Gate.io in 2017. And the platform is a part of Gate Technology Incorporated Corporations and has a registration address in Virginia, USA. Its interface is available for working in 3 versions, that is English, Chinese, and Japanese. Now they are trading over 1,400 cryptocurrencies safely, quickly, and easily, and their comprehensive protection with security and law fund. And Tom Yang, who is the top-level executive at Gate.io Group, said, "We've seen an increase in demand for high-quality over-the-counter services, or OTC, especially from big players entering crypto from traditional finance. To meet our existing and future clients' ever-growing needs, we've launched a dedicated and robust OTC platform with security, comprehensivity, and convenience at its core. And currently, Gate.io has 10 million users from around the world. It has been consistently ranked as one of the top 10 cryptocurrency exchanges based on liquidity and trading volume on CoinGecko, and has received a rating of 4.5 by Forbes Advisor, making it one of the best crypto exchanges of 2021. So Gate.io is definitely one of the leading players in the cryptocurrency industry. And the news is that Gate over the counter has partnered with Synopsys Solutions and CoinFirm to ensure security and regulatory compliance measures on the platform, which features 24/7 one-on-one professional advisor support and on-demand customer service. And Gate.io Group has launched an over-the-counter trading platform that provides fully licensed over-the-counter crypto trading services catered to institutions and high-net-worthy individuals, which you would find quite a lot, especially in Dubai and in UAE. And Gate over-the-counter supports several mainstream cryptocurrencies and offers its services in various countries in the world. So definitely a brilliant move for Dubai. Not just for Dubai, even for the cryptocurrency industry in general. Gate's over-the-counter trading will facilitate large block trades while retaining privacy and minimizing the impact on market price. An over-the-counter trade offers an alternative to executing large trades on the buy and sell market order book. And if you look at how large trading offers works, is they do have a massive impact on the price of cryptocurrencies. But once you go to over-the-counter route, it does not affect the price of cryptocurrencies. And large order book trades can have heavy price impacts, long-term execution time, and increased risk. By transacting directly with the over-the-counter platforms such as Gate.io, investors can better avoid such risks, as trades are based on quotes with locked-in pricing and executed independently of the order book. And in case if you guys are keen on getting into over-the-counter, you can drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com, or you can also send an email to Gate.io at otc@gate.io. So that's all for today, guys, on the Crypto and Coffee Date from Blockchain DXB. In case if you guys have any feedback or suggestions, drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com. You can also check out my website, that is www.blockchaindxb.com, and also check out my other website, that is area2071.com. If you like listening to this, please follow this podcast, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. Now for the next 30 minutes is going to be an Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions about Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. So let's kickstart with the Ask Me Anything series. Hey everyone, it's George from Blockchain DXB. You're listening to the Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions about Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. And remember, Monday to Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. we have Crypto and Coffee at 8, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. This is followed by 2 news and information related to Dubai, UAE, and Middle East from the cryptocurrency world. And what you're listening to right now is the Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions about Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. I have a question by Haley, who asks, can you tell us a bit more about the Inflation Reduction Act? Now Haley, to be honest, I am not a financial expert and I'm not a politician, so I do not know much information about the Inflation Reduction Act, only to the fact that it did go down for voting and it went down to the Senate. I think 50% of them were Democrats who voted in favor of the Inflation Reduction Act, so it was 50-50%. And because it was a 50-50%, none of the Republicans actually voted in favor for this. Because it was 50-50%, it was the Vice President, that is Kamala Harris, who had to put her vote, and she finally decided in favor of this act. Personally, I don't think so it is a good act, because it has pretty much nothing to do with inflation. $737 billion most likely will be printed or will be helping the US economy. But the craziest thing, Haley, is out of the $737 billion, $437 billion will be utilized for combating climate change. Now, I don't understand what climate change has got to do with inflation. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, if you go through the article, it is literally a 1-page document. If you want to find out more information, Haley, go to democrats.senate.gov. This is literally a 1-page document. Usually these documents are just 1 page. It tells you a summary of what they want to pass, and it explains in terms of what the funds will be used. Now, there are 8 different categories here, which I'll talk about. Unfortunately, it is not much to do with cryptocurrencies as such. the 8 categories where the funds of $737 billion will be utilized are: expand medical care benefits, lower energy bills, make historic climate investment, where I believe most of the funds, more than 50% of the funds is actually going, lowers healthcare cost, creates manufacturing jobs, invest in disadvantaged communities, closes tax loopholes used by wealthy individuals, and protects families and small businesses. So these are 8 areas. I am entirely not sure how it helps the US economy or how it actually helps the cryptocurrency, but I do remember, Haley, the day the Inflation Reduction Act was announced, the cryptocurrency market at that point of time, 2 hours before and 2 hours after, did not have much of an impact, but after 4 hours from the announcement, the price did pump up, but not quite a lot. If you actually look at the date when the Inflation Reduction Act was announced, if you look at my blog on my website, or listen to the podcast on that same day, I do actually mention and talk about it. Anything that I've said in this particular session is definitely not financial advice. I have another question by Jay who asks, how does the sponsorship for your podcast work? That's a brilliant question, Jay. If you do want to sponsor this podcast, you can drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com or info@area2071.com. So essentially, I have 2 podcasts. Monday to Thursday is Crypto and Coffee at 8, and Fridays I have Metaverse Everything. Apart from that, I also have interviews with tech startups, business owners, government organizations. So your sponsorship, if it is in an audio format, so what you'll have to do is you'll have to send me an audio clip, or I can record the audio clip explaining what your business is. Ideally, it should be for 45 seconds to 1 minute long, and I'll upload that thrice in my podcast, maybe at the start of it, maybe at the center, and maybe at the bottom. Apart from that, I also tend to have events via eventbrite.com. I tend to have at least 8 events a month. I can also promote your company during those sessions as well. Apart from that, I also have another podcast called Rise in OCR Podcast, which talks everything about fitness, and it's more to do with obstacle course racing. So I'll be promoting your products in those channels as well. Apart from that, what I plan to do from next month onwards, via LinkedIn, I plan to have at least 4 to 8 sessions discussing cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and metaverse. So I'll definitely be promoting it in the LinkedIn events as well. And to be honest, the LinkedIn event is absolutely massive. The audience reach that I get is well over 10,000 people per session. If you're interested, or Jay, if you know of anyone who is keen on sponsoring for this podcast, ask them to drop me an email, because I have different packages for different companies and depending on what fits your needs. And at the end of the day, mutually both need to be benefited by it. So that's all for today, guys, from the Ask Me Anything series from Blockchain DXB. In case if you guys have any feedback or suggestions, drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com. You can also check out my website, that is www.blockchaindxb.com, or area2071.com, that talks everything about metaverse. And remember, guys, Monday to Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., we have Crypto and Coffee at 8, where we cover top news and information pertaining to Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and metaverse. And how this series of episodes on the Crypto and Coffee at 8 works is, we usually cover some top news and information pertaining to the price of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other 2 news and information is related to Dubai, UAE, and Middle East in the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and metaverse. And what you're listening to right now is the Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions about Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and metaverse. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.